Welcome back to 100 Hours in Terraria Hardcore, and of course we're playing on Master Mode. If you haven't seen the previous videos, welcome to the 100 Hours in Hardcore Challenge, where different stages of Terraria's progression are locked behind 10-hour increments. In the last 10 hours, I could beat the 3 mechs, and now I am allowed to fight Plantera and Golem. Otherwise, I can make no other form of progression. This is going to be a rather nerve-wracking part of the progression tree for me, for a few reasons. Some obvious, one not so much. In this phase of the game, I'll be unlocking the hardest tier of the Solar Eclipse, as well as Hard Mode Dungeon. Hard Mode Dungeon is arguably one of the most dangerous parts of any run, considering where you are in progression. Several of the enemies are fully capable of killing you in 2 quick shots, and there's that pesky sniper that nearly ended my first hardcore success. And now that I'm playing in Master Mode instead of Expert, I'm sure the enemies will hit even harder and take longer to kill. The Solar Eclipse, on the other hand, can be fought in my lovely arena, but the nailheads combined with hard-to-see deadly spheres and the boss Mothron can become an issue really quickly. The not-so-obvious piece of regression introduced in this phase of the challenge that I'm very nervous about is Golem. Widely regarded as one of the easiest bosses in the game, I've always found him to be actually a real threat in most runs. This is primarily because the close quarters you're stuck in during the battle and you're really close to when he's shooting at you, so it's hard to react in time. I'm still of the opinion that Golem is not as easy as people pretend he is. Sure, he's not the toughest, but I've lost plenty of times, and I'm terrified of this running ending by Golem's hand because the internet will never let me live that down. On the bright side though, Plantera is the first boss during these 10 hours, and I personally regard her as being one of the easiest bosses of the game, so let's get straight into it. We got the axe on the first get out of here. Get out of here. I had to farm for quite a bit to get the axe in my 1 year run, so this is super luck. All right, whatever. I wonder if that'll apply to the Stellar Tune if I manage to get to the Empress. That would be pretty epic if I got Stellar Tune in this run, but we'll see if we get there. Anyways, I remember there was another bulb up the elevator, and so I broke it and got to another fight. Wait, is it a elevator if it doesn't go all the way to the under? I don't know. There isn't really anything in particular that I need, but I love the Venus Magnum and figured I might as well try to get it. Plantera is an interesting boss to me because when I played the game considerably less and Plantera was a newer boss, I struggled with beating her more than most bosses. It took many attempts, and she used to be quite the roadblock, but now Plantera is hardly a threat at all. That's probably mostly due to the fact that I didn't really make arenas back then, but hey, now I live and learn, and now I know that making arenas actually does help with killing bosses. Who would have thought? Another axe? What the heck? Still no Venus Magnum, and my potions are still good to go, so I did some quick searching, found a 3rd bulb, and killed the plant for the 3rd time. Didn't get a 3rd axe, unfortunately, but I did get the Pygmy Staff, which I just have to assume is better than the Twin Staff, or I guess Optic Staff, whatever. I'm honestly not sure. They're not nearly as good at targeting and hitting enemies than the Twins, in my opinion, but the Venom debuff is kind of insane. Intending to visit the dungeon soon, I replaced the Fire Gauntlet with the Spore Sack. Is this still a hot take that the Spore Sack is actually really good, at least when you're underground or otherwise have lots of walls? Sure, the Fire Gauntlet does great damage, but the Spore Sack spawns all these poisonous clouds that deal high damage. It's almost like having a horde of free summons forming a cloak around you, and I'm convinced it'll be far more useful than the Fire Gauntlet when in the dungeon. Plus, the spores can attack through walls to a certain extent, so that's very helpful. This did mean I'd want to reforge it to warding, and the Goblin Tinkerer during this run has had the single worst RNG of any run I have ever done, period, no contest. Have I just been lucky with a Tinkerer all my life, or am I extraordinarily unlucky this run? I have no idea. I've had to reforge just about everything 20 or more times before getting the modifier that I'm after, and even then I don't often get it. It sucks, even with all the time I'm spending on this world and the great riches I have acquired, it can all be gone in an instant because the Goblin Tinkerer is having a bad day. This man needs to build his beachside mansion already. I've definitely paid him enough to make one. And so this brings me to the Hard Mode Dungeon, one of the places that ranks highest in Fear Factor. Next month will be even worse with the moon events. Those take first place for sure. But let's just focus on surviving these 10 hours. And with that in mind, I drank all kinds of potions before heading on down and encountering a Bone Lee before making hardly any progress. Oh, and I almost forgot to mention, I drank my one and only luck potion crafted with the elusive pink pearl. That gives me 15 minutes of extra luck that I got to leverage to my advantage and get myself out of this dungeon as soon as possible. I do have some of the lesser luck potions, but I'm using the best of the best here. One thing about this dungeon that I mentioned in the last video is that most of the walls down here are the kind that spawn snipers. Great, right? So I went down here thinking that I need to keep a very sharp eye out for these nasty marksmen, but apparently I didn't keep out a nearly sharp enough eye. Oh, nope, not you. Oh, that's... Oh, the sniper hit me. Oh, okay. Well, at least I know I can take that much damage. Okay. It is both terrifying and relieving having run into that sniper. I can take more of a hit from them than I thought, which is great, but I was also hit by a sniper, and those have nearly one-shot me in the past, and I shouldn't let them hit me at all. I don't need to experiment with this. A Bone Lee dropped both the black belt and Tabby, and my luck potion is certainly feeling real good right now. Wait, maybe I should drink these during reforging. Oh my god, how have I not thought of this before? Is that a thing? A magnet sphere also dropped, which is cool and all, but I'm not sure I'm going to actually use it. I remembered a desert key had dropped before, so I grabbed the desert tiger staff. Love this thing, definitely better than the pygmy since it can go through walls when it feels like it. And I killed snipers from far away, as you should. Just got to hope snipers don't spawn as frequently as the Bone Lees do. 3 Bone Lees? 3! What the heck? Before we continue, if you've been enjoying the video, be sure to subscribe. At the end of the year, I'll be firing 1 mini nuke 2 from this rocket launcher at year's end for every subscriber I have. So if you want to claim your mini nuke 2 and support long-form challenges like this, consider subscribing. I remembered I had also gotten the jungle key, so I checked my map to see where it is. This is why it's a good idea to mark where these things are with torches. Before heading out, I dropped a few things off at home and was about to return when I accidentally drank a second potion of return. And wait, I've never done this before. Now there's 2 portals. What happens now? Does one portal teleport to the other? Do both portals still function and go back to the location I drank the potion at? Can you leave multiple portals around the world and use them at your leisure? Well, it would turn out the 2 portals link. I'm sure that could be helpful for some situations, but it's rather disappointing in the moment because I wanted to be teleported back to where I was in the dungeon and skip the travel back. But I made the journey and opened the jungle chest. Piranha gun! Oh yes, fires live piranhas. Have you seen one before? No, you haven't. I invented it. Did I use the piranha gun? No. I got an Inferno Fork. Did I use that? No. I'm getting a lot of things I don't really need. In fact, the only thing left for me to collect in the dungeon at this point is 2 Paladin shields, but no Paladins are spawning. I'm not sure if there's any way to optimize their spawn rates, but I'm not about to make a farm in the most deadly place of the game, nor am I going to roam around blindly. So I put up walls on either side of the farm area, I guess, and made a nice little box from which I could wait for the Paladins to arrive. I made sure every sniper died that appeared on the screen, and after waiting around for a whole 10 minutes, a Paladin finally showed up and was kind enough to drop me absolutely nothing. I farmed and I farmed and I farmed some more for a whole 15 minutes just for a Paladin to finally spawn. Will this one drop a shield? As it turned out, yes. Yes, he would. And his friend who came to avenge his buddy appeared not 10 seconds later and dropped the shield he was carrying as well. So I am out of here. Goodbye, hard mode dungeon. I hope to never see you again. Now you may be wondering why I wanted 2 Paladin shields. Well, one can be crafted into the Frozen Shield. It has higher defense than the Ankh Shield and grants 25% damage resistance when below 50% of my health. That added survivability is quite obviously helpful, but what was the other one for? Well, I was curious how good the Hero's Shield would be. I thought it would give me some offensive and some defensive abilities, but instead it was just slightly higher defense than the Frozen Shield, and other than that, it had no benefits for someone playing single player. It's actually mostly a multiplayer accessory. It's kind of cool. That's too bad, but I made the shield anyways because I did farm for the parts after all, so I might as well, right? In the last 10 hours, I tried buying the auto hammer, but it wasn't being sold. So after checking with the truffle once more, it would seem that the crafting station can only be available or sold or whatever after Plantera has been killed. So I purchased it and made myself a hoverboard. I know nothing about what the different tiers of wings are in Terraria. I don't care. I just spitball it and call it a day, but I do love the hoverboard for its ability to, well, hover and fly in straight horizontal lines. I always forget to craft it, but not today. Today I remember. With everything I could ever ask for already gathered from the dungeon, it was time to head to the Jungle Temple. I love how they reworked your ability to see wires in the temple. It makes it so much more dangerous, and taking the time to remove traps is more worth your time and effort. If it hasn't already occurred to you, there is an easy way to safely navigate the temple without seeing the wires or even knowing where the pressure plates are. If there's a pot, table, statue, or any other decorative piece, stand wherever those are, because the pressure plate obviously can't spawn in the same location. This is how I often leap through the temple, by landing on those safe zones and then scanning for pressure plates. The enemies are dangerous, but the True Hollow Sword makes quick work of them, and when I was hit, I was too tanky to be put in real danger. I sneak through the temple, and this is the part where I finally get to see if the World Gen is going to ruin my entire run. A bad temple arena could very well ruin everything. Ooh, this is not a very good arena. It's not awful. It's not good. It's not the worst temple I've ever seen. That's reserved for the one in my 1 year, 1 world. Maybe this isn't even bad at all. I don't know. It seems a bit thin. It could be wider, but I have to work with what I got. So, cleared the traps I had set off earlier, put down a platform and passive buffs, drank my potions, and summoned the golem. Only 2 damage. Oh, that did 30. Okay. Okay. They're fine. Ouch. That went well-ish. I definitely fell a bit lower on health than I'd prefer, but hey, I did kill the sentient hardened clay, and that's what counts. Killing him makes it so wires are revealed, and I don't know why it didn't occur to me to remove all the wiring so they wouldn't be there as I summon the golem again. Is there anything I need from the golem? Perhaps not, but a sunstone could be good. The celestial stone, I've heard, is a good accessory. I'm not sure, and I haven't made it in forever. I also don't know what it would replace, but I can always get it and find out. Plus, a Pixel is always nice. And I suppose I need extra beetle husks for beetle armor. Okay, so there are reasons to kill this thing. I ended up killing Golem 3 times, opened up all the treasure bags, and didn't get any of the things I wanted other than the husks, but those are guaranteed drops, so they don't count. One exciting fact about Golem is that the 3rd tier Old One's army is available. Fighting the army isn't what is exciting though, the Valhalla's armor is. I've heard people rave about this armor, and because I have collected plenty of medals in earlier hours, I purchased full Valhalla armor and the 3rd tier Flame Burst staff. I equipped the armor, and I'm surprised to learn it only has 5 less defense than the beetle armor. Granted, I don't get the damage resistance of beetle armor, but Valhalla armor does give greatly increased regen, whatever that means, along with extra sentries, summon, and melee damage. Should I use it over beetle armor? I'm thinking not. Pure survivability is all I care about, and the damage resistance of beetle armor has the Valhalla armor beat there. However, I wanted to test Valhalla armor to see if its damage could be worthwhile, but I made a major mistake in purchasing the Flame Burst staff. The Valhalla armor set bonus increases the effectiveness of the ballista staff. And now that I purchased the armor and a staff, I no longer have enough defender medals to afford the ballista one. I do have 50 left over, so only 10 more are needed. But as mentioned, we're at 3rd tier Old One's army. At events, I only managed to beat on tier during the 1 year 1 world series, and only after many deaths and defeats. But I'm curious. Can I sneak a few defender medals from the early phases of the army? Well, after clearing the 3rd phase, I got my hands on 1 single defender medal. So it is possible. I'll just have to do it 10 more times. That didn't sound exciting, so I instead have spent my valuable time killing 8 more golems just to not get the gosh darn sunstone. I did get a pixel, so woohoo, but where's that stupid sunstone? What is the odds of this thing dropping? I did use the Possessed Hatchet a bit and was actually impressed by it. Its damage output to single targets is comparable to the True Hollowed Sword, just with the added benefit of range and some homing from what I can tell. It's just, well, only 1 target. And so I returned to the Old One's army, deciding this time that I'd put in a little extra effort to clear the 4th wave, and maybe, just maybe, I'd beat it and be rewarded with more than 1 medal. And by beat, I mean beat the 4th wave, not the whole thing. It was tough, but I did accomplish what I set out to do, and 4 defender medals dropped from the crystal, bringing me to 5 of the 10 I need. That is definitely nice, having to fight the thing a whole lot less now. Feeling good about clearing 4 waves, I decided to bring potions this time, figuring I could potentially get even further. I nearly beat the 5th wave, but definitely got carried away and fell below half health near the end. That gave me 4 more medals, and so I cleared the first 3 on the next one and abandoned the crystal with the final defender medal I needed to get the ballista staff. All those for something I'm not even sure I'll use. There weren't a whole lot of scenarios I thought I would be safe for testing the armor, so I summoned the army again to try out Valhalla armor with this extra efficient ballista. At least with the army, I can run away at any time if need be. This is when something I didn't expect happened. With this armor, I was able to clear all of the waves, bringing me to the final and most dangerous wave 7, where Betsy the Dragon, a boss I could barely defeat in my 1-year-1 World Series, spawns.
I actually beat Betsy in hardcore! Let's go! No way!
I genuinely cannot believe it. How on earth did I do that? This is by far the easiest 3rd-tier Old One's army has ever been. What is going on? Betsy dropped the Sky Dragon's Fury, which I reforged, sinking yet more of my money into the black hole known as the Goblin Tinkerer's pockets, and then placed the many relics I had gathered. Wanting to test the Sky Dragon's Fury and still hoping for a Sunstone, I killed the Golem, and I'm quite happy with this weapon. This is definitely a suitable place for it in progression. I've just never gotten it at this point before. I feel so good about it, and I figured it actually served me best against the next incredibly dangerous event, the Solar Eclipse. Drink all of my potions, including a luck potion, and summon the event. I killed a nailhead right outside and ran into a Mothron immediately after.
The Sky Dragon's Fury. Oh my goodness, it's actually great at this point in progression. And we already got one. All right, we're good. We're done. We're fine. That's it. Zip. Done.
I used a sundial to skip the rest of the day. Well, I was a bit anticlimactic, I think. I waited for the eclipse to end, but the enemies were still spawning.
Wait, did I just skip to another solar eclipse? Are you kidding? Get out of here. Are you kidding? What?
Well, that's kind of funny. Makes me real glad the sundial resets whenever a solar eclipse or similar event happens. With the broken hero sword in hand, I crafted the Terra Blade, and its price tag for reforging is insane. I was tempted to burn all of my money in an effort to get legendary on it, but there are a few more things I might want to reforge in the future, so I held off and settled for Savage. And now, I want to do something I would never have dreamed I would do in a million years. Farm 3rd tier Old One's army in Master Mode Hardcore. To prepare, I gathered spider fangs with which to make the spider sentry staff. I had one before, but I trashed it figuring I wouldn't need it anymore. Once I crafted the staff, I took down the Old One's army for the 2nd time, with the Sky Dragon's Fury performing quite well against Betsy. It might actually be better than the Terra Blade in many situations. Quite impressive, really. Betsy dropped the Flying Dragon this time, and, well, fun fact about the sword, it's actually the best sword in the game. Okay, well, maybe not technically, but the Terra Blade is oftentimes the final sword used before Moonlord, but the Flying Dragon is better in many ways. It's just as fast, does twice the damage right about, and goes through blocks. The only drawback is the weapon's projectiles are a little smaller, but that's perfectly fine by me. I sank another arm and a leg to get the Flying Dragon to Godly, still can't get Legendary, and I am now well geared, and now that I know I can easily take down the army, I cleared it 3 more times, all in search of Betsy's wings, which dropped on the 5th dragon.
And Betsy wings! And it's warding! Let's go!
I needed to start clearing up some of the weapons and accessories and the chests after gathering a bunch of stuff here, and accidentally sold my one and only Star Fury, so I guess I'm not getting the Zenith until I fish for another one. It's kind of ridiculous, but even more ridiculous is the sheer number of relics above my base. I said at the start I wanted to collect every relic from every boss this run, but I never anticipated including this many from Dark Mages and Ogres, let alone 5 Betsy relics? Calming things down a bit, I added 2 more houses. The Cyborg hadn't spawned yet, so I clearly needed more housing, and I spent some time redoing the spawn area to make it just a little more interesting. Looking good, I think. Now, to prepare for the next 10 hours, I mined away a block-deep hole where the Old One's army used to be. The plan is to put a thin layer of lava down there to give me free damage against the enemies during the moon events. I somehow haven't fished up a bottomless lava bucket and tried using regular lava buckets, but the lava kept disappearing, so I tried fishing again, failed, and then managed to make it work with more regular buckets and spacing out where I spilled the lava. I then went underground to farm for a Crimson Key. I've done this several times before with no luck, and that'll continue. Still no Crimson Keys for me. I'm not even sure the Vampire Knives will be helpful, but hey, I got time. I did get bored of farming though, and decided to make a cave build. After all, builds on the surface could get in the way of my arenas, which is one reason I haven't really done much building, so making it underground made a lot more sense to me. There was a lot of mining and a lot of building, and magically this appeared. So I started farming for the Crimson Key again, making sure to drink my luck potions, and after another half hour or so, Bob's your uncle one actually dropped. Crimson Key! Oh, I actually got it! Oh, sick! Still not sure they'll actually be useful, but I got them, and I'll get to really put them to the test against the moon events, I think. Really quick, back to the build. I remembered that fog machines existed and have never implemented them into a build before, so I figured I'd set up a bunch of them in the lower part of the cave build, used Echo Paint to hide them, and dang, that looks cool. I'm gonna have to use fog machines more often. Now, I had gone underground a time or two for those Crimson Key farming sessions, and I've been noticing the hollow get closer and closer underground, so it's time to separate it off from spawn before it's too late. Genuinely out of ideas for what to do in these past few hours, I had some fun messing with minecart tracks, trying to make an infinite loop. Never made one of those before, and I hardly use minecart tracks at all, and I'm still not entirely certain how I did it. It just kind of started working. I also didn't know how to make minecart bumpers before, and was about to check the wiki until I read the Rails description. I then figured I'd have some fun with the Jungle Temple, mining away many of the blocks and replacing the stone exterior with Jungle Temple ones. I thought this was funny, but joke's on me because these blocks actually changed my biome to a jungle one, so I couldn't use my forest pylon anymore. And that sucks. Why do these blocks have to affect the biome? I demand this be changed right this instant. I was about to replace the whole exterior with pearl stone brick, but after replacing exactly half, the jungle biome background went away, so I'm sticking with half and half, just for the heck of it. At this point, I've managed to collect 3 biome keys, and so I got it in my head. It might be fun farming for all 5, so I went to the tundra, and this one was a whole lot more cooperative, as it only took a half hour to get my hands on this key.
There it is! Let's go!
This sentry is widely regarded as pretty useless, and there definitely was a time that was more or less true. Since they updated the thing, it's definitely better than the 3rd tier flame burst staff at least. Maybe it really is the best sentry now. It pierces, it's fast, it does fine damage. It's free if nothing else, so why not, right? I connected the arenas in the hollow and near the house to make one much larger arena, and then farmed in the hollow for the last biome key, but never got one. So maybe I'll be able to get that in the next 10 hours, because that wraps up these 10 hours in 100 hours of hardcore. We've made it 60 hours, which is so much farther than I ever thought, and I've basically got all the equipment I'll ever need. So I'm really wondering what I'm going to do with these next 40 hours, but I do have to get through the 2 moons, and the Martians aren't easy, and Empress isn't easy, so it's not over yet.